Looking for a new game to give you nightmares? Here are the top 10 scariest horror games that will have you sleeping with the lights on. From atmospheric creepfests to heart-pounding survival horror, these games will keep you on edge from start to finish. And if you missed part 1, be sure to check it out first. Now let's dive into the terror, if you dare. Kicking off the list at number 10 is Darkwood. One of the most crucial elements of horror is the unknown. Once you understand how something works, it instantly loses its fear factor. That's a common issue in horror games. How do you create depth while maintaining the mystery? Darkwood nails this by keeping explanations to a minimum. After a confusing prologue, you're dropped into the eerie main game with little guidance. Despite its top-down perspective, which you'd think would reduce tension, the game heightens fear with deep shadows and ambiguous shapes. Your primary goal is survival. And while it might seem like a standard open-ended survival game, there's actually a weird, unsettling narrative running beneath the surface. Strange characters, animals, and grotesque monsters are always lurking, especially at night when they try to break into your house. Defending yourself with boarded-up windows, locked doors, and a generator barely holds them back. The game's fog of war ensures you can't always see what's coming for you, adding to the terror. Darkwood can feel aimless and brutally hard at first, but stick with it. It's far more forgiving and captivating than it appears. It's strange, unsettling, and stands out as one of the most intriguing indie horrors in recent memory. At number 9, we have Soma. While many horror games focus on physical or psychological scares, Soma introduces something far more chilling: existential horror. At first, the game doesn't seem particularly scary, but as the plot unfolds, the implications of the story dig deep into your mind. I won't spoil it for you, but the final moments are bleak, and the philosophical questions it raises will linger long after the robotic enemies are forgotten. Sure, the game has its monsters and tense moments, but the real terror lies in the overwhelming weight of the existential dread it leaves you with. Coming in at number 8 is Cry of Fear, an impressive Half-Life mod that delivers intense horror. The game draws heavy inspiration from Silent Hill, placing you in dark, decaying environments with limited resources to defend yourself. The lo-fi visuals work in its favor, making everything more obscure and unsettling. For a free game, Cry of Fear is remarkably well crafted, with disturbing monsters and the tension of survival horror staples like limited inventory and save points. It's definitely worth checking out, especially given its price. Absolutely nothing. At number 7 is the remake of Resident Evil. While people often complain about frequent remakes, the leap between the original Resident Evil and its remake is incredible. Released just 6 years after the PlayStation original, this version revamped the game into something far scarier, with improved visuals, atmosphere, and enemy threats. Zombies are more dangerous than ever, and if you don't burn their bodies, they can return as the terrifying Crimson Heads. And let's not forget Lisa Trevor, a grotesque, unkillable enemy that's pure nightmare fuel. The remake remains one of the scariest games in the series, proving that old games can still deliver a fresh, terrifying experience. Number 6 is Silent Hill 2, widely considered a classic in the horror genre. Unlike other games that rely on jump scares or visceral horror, Silent Hill 2 offers a slow, atmospheric dread that sneaks up on you. It's not just about the creepy visuals or dreamlike environments, it's the deeply disturbing story that makes it so memorable. The game touches on themes rarely explored in its era, with a presentation, soundtrack, and narrative that still feel relevant today. It's a must-play for any horror fan. At number 5, we have Fatal Frame. The Fatal Frame series is notorious for its scares, and the first 3 games on the PlayStation 2 are all terrifying in their own ways. Using a camera to fight ghosts may sound gimmicky, but it's actually one of the most nerve-wracking mechanics in horror games. You need to time your shots perfectly, often waiting until the ghost is just about to attack. The tension leading up to these moments is almost unbearable. Each of the first 3 games has its own strengths, but all of them are equally terrifying. At number 4 is Silent Hill 3, a viscerally disturbing entry in the series. This time, you play as Heather Mason, whose reactions to the grotesque and bizarre world around her make the horror feel even more real. The game's otherworldly environments are some of the most terrifying in the series, with walls that seem to pulse with flesh and monsters that are truly unsettling. It's one of the freakiest games ever made, filled with disturbing imagery that sticks with you long after you've put the controller down. At number 3 is Amnesia. The Dark Descent, a game that helped redefine modern horror. You play as a man with no memory, trapped in a mysterious mansion filled with monsters. What makes Amnesia so effective is its emphasis on helplessness. You can't fight back, only hide, and hope the monsters don't find you. The game's sanity mechanic adds to the tension, as your vision blurs and your mind falters the longer you remain in the dark. Amnesia may not be as groundbreaking today as it was when it first released, but it remains one of the most influential horror games of all time. At number 2 is Siren, a game that's relentlessly oppressive. Set in a cursed village filled with murderous, zombie-like villagers called Shibito, the game forces you to survive by avoiding detection and using a unique ability called sight jacking to see through the eyes of your enemies. The game's disorienting design and unpredictable enemies make every moment tense. Siren doesn't rely on cheap jump scares, it's just unnervingly scary throughout, with an atmosphere of dread that never lets up. Finally, at number 1 is Alien. Isolation, a game that takes one of cinema's most iconic monsters and makes it terrifying again. The xenomorph in this game is smart, unkillable, and always stalking you, creating constant tension. Even after countless deaths, the alien never stops being scary thanks to its unpredictability. As if that wasn't enough, you also have to contend with hostile androids, making the game even more terrifying. Alien. Isolation is a masterclass in survival horror, delivering an experience that stays tense and terrifying from start to finish. As a bonus, we have PT, the playable teaser for a Silent Hills game that never came to be. Though it was pulled from all platforms, PT has left a lasting legacy, influencing modern horror games like Resident Evil 7 and 8. It's a simple yet terrifying experience, and even though you can't officially play it anymore, its impact on the horror genre is undeniable. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this countdown, make sure to hit that like button and share your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss an upload. And if you haven't seen part 1 yet, be sure to check it out for even more terrifying games. Stay safe out there, and remember, sleep tight if you can.